The emergency alarms blared through the massive space station floating at the edge of known space. Inside the grand chamber, representatives from dozens of alien species rushed to their seats, their faces showing every shade of fear and panic. This wasn't a routine meeting. This was survival. At the center podium stood Captain Vorak, a battle-scarred warrior from the KRYLL Empire. His forearms trembled slightly as he activated the holographic display. What appeared made several council members gasp. Others looked away. 3 weeks, Vorak's translator device announced. 3 weeks since this creature appeared in our space. 27 ships destroyed. 14 outposts gone. Over 6,000 lives lost. The hologram showed footage from the last encounter. A creature so massive it dwarfed entire battleships glided through the void of space. Its scales shimmered with colors that shouldn't exist, absorbing laser fire like sunlight on water. When it opened its jaws, plasma hot enough to melt titanium poured out in waves. The aliens watching the footage had named it the Void Dragon, and it was unlike anything in their databases. Ambassador Thena, an elegant being with crystalline features, stood up. We've checked every archive, every ancient text in the Seraphim libraries. Nothing matches this creature. It's as if it came from before our civilizations even existed. Then we destroy it before it comes for our home worlds, Commander Brax of the Tyrrhenian fleet growled. His people were warriors, not philosophers. The debate raged for hours. Some wanted to evacuate the entire sector. Others demanded an all-out assault. The problem was simple but terrifying. Every weapon they'd thrown at the dragon had failed. Energy shields meant nothing. Missiles exploded harmlessly against its hide. Even their newest quantum torpedoes had barely scratched it. There's a reason our ancestors feared dragons in their myths, Thena said quietly. Perhaps some nightmares are too old to die. While the council argued millions of miles away, a small human research vessel drifted peacefully through the same star system. The ship was called the Morning Star, nothing fancy, just a standard mining survey craft. Humans were relatively new to the galactic community, still excited about exploring space while most other species saw it as routine. Dr. Lisa Morgan sat in the lab, studying mineral samples through her microscope. She was a xenobiologist, someone who studied alien life, though most of her work involved analyzing rocks and microbes. Not exactly exciting, but someone had to catalog the boring stuff. In the cockpit, Commander Jake Palmer checked their navigation systems. Jake was former military, the kind of guy who kept his coffee mug spotless and his uniform pressed even on a research mission. His job was keeping the science team safe, which usually meant making sure nobody accidentally walked out an airlock. "Hey Mom, can I see?" A small voice piped up. Lisa smiled as her daughter Mia climbed onto the chair next to her. Bringing an 8-year-old on a space mission wasn't standard procedure, but Mia's school was on break, and Lisa's ex-husband was deployed on Mars. The choice was simple: bring Mia along or miss another 6 months of her childhood. Just mineral crystals, sweetie. Nothing exciting today. Space is always exciting, Mia said with the absolute certainty only children possess. Jake's voice crackled over the intercom. "Doc, you might want to see this. Our sensors are picking up something weird in the asteroid belt ahead." Lisa made her way to the cockpit, Mia trailing behind her. The display showed a massive heat signature, way too big to be a ship or natural phenomenon. "Could be a crashed freighter with a reactor leak," Jake suggested, though his tone said he didn't believe it. "Only one way to find out. Take us closer, but keep the shields up." The Morning Star adjusted course, gliding toward the asteroid belt. None of them knew they were heading straight toward the most feared creature in the galaxy. None of them knew their defense shields were about to become useless. The ship shuddered violently. Alarm screamed. Jake fought with the controls as every system began failing at once. Electromagnetic pulse. Something's frying our circuits. The Morning Star spun out of control, pulled by an invisible force toward a massive asteroid. Jake managed to fire emergency thrusters at the last second, turning what would have been a fatal crash into a rough landing. The ship scraped across rock and ice before finally stopping, tilted at an angle. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Jake unbuckled and started checking systems. Hull integrity holding. Life support operational. But communications are down, main engines are fried, and we're not going anywhere soon. Lisa helped Mia up, checking her for injuries. "You okay, baby?" "That was like the worst roller coaster ever," Mia said, which Lisa took as a yes. Through the cockpit window, they could see the cause of their crash. Perched on a nearby asteroid, barely half a mile away, was something impossible. It was enormous, easily the size of an office building, with wings that caught the distant starlight. Scales covered its body in overlapping plates of midnight blue and violet. "No way," Jake whispered. "That's the thing from the council warnings. The Void Dragon." Lisa felt her blood turn cold. Every ship in the sector had received the emergency broadcasts. "Stay away from the outer rim. Report any sightings immediately. Do not engage under any circumstances." And they just crash-landed right next to it. Jake moved fast, his military training kicking in. He sealed the cockpit door and started pulling emergency weapons from the storage lockers. Plasma rifles, shock grenades, a portable shield generator that might buy them a few extra seconds. "We need to fortify our position and send a distress beacon," he said, his voice steady but his hands moving with urgent precision. "Lisa, get Mia to the safe room in the back. I'll set up a perimeter." Lisa nodded, grabbing her daughter's hand. But Mia pulled away, pressing her face against the window instead. "Mom, look at it. Really look." "Mia, now's not the time." "Mom, please." Something in her daughter's voice made Lisa pause. She stepped closer to the window, and for the first time, she looked at the dragon not as a threat but as a scientist observing a specimen. The creature was massive, yes, but its movements were slow, almost labored. One wing hung at an odd angle. And there, embedded in its side, were 3 long metallic spears, the kind of weapons the KRYLL Empire used. Dark blue blood seeped from the wounds, creating small frozen crystals in the vacuum of space. "It's hurt," Mia whispered. Jake appeared behind them, rifle in hand. "That thing has destroyed warships. Hurt or not, it's dangerous." But Lisa's scientific mind was already working. The dragon wasn't prowling or hunting. It was positioned defensively, its body curved around something on the asteroid's surface. Protecting something. "Jake, I need the observation scope." He handed it over reluctantly. Lisa adjusted the magnification, scanning the area near the dragon. Her breath caught. "There are eggs. 3 of them, about 20 feet from its position." "So it's a mother," Jake said quietly. His rifle lowered slightly. He had 2 kids himself back on Earth. "That doesn't make it safe." "No," Lisa agreed. "But it explains why it's been so aggressive. It's not hunting. It's defending." While the adults talked, Mia made a decision. She'd always been good at making decisions that terrified her parents. Like the time she climbed the tallest tree in the park to rescue a cat, or when she jumped into the pool to save her friend before she'd even learned to swim properly. The dragon wasn't a monster. It was a mom, just like her mom. And it was hurt and scared. The maintenance hatch was easy to open. Mia had watched the crew use it a dozen times during the trip. She grabbed one of the child-sized emergency suits from the locker, the kind kept on board for exactly this reason. It took her 3 tries to seal it properly, but she'd practiced in the safety drills. The airlock cycled open with a soft hiss. Outside, the asteroid's surface was rough and gray, covered in dust that puffed up with each careful step. The gravity was light, making Mia feel like she could bounce to the moon. The dragon was maybe 200 yards away, and it was even bigger up close. Her suit radio crackled. "Mia? Mia, where are you?" Her mother's voice, rising with panic. Mia turned off the radio. Mom would just tell her to come back, and this was important. The dragon's head swung toward her, those massive eyes focusing on the tiny figure approaching across the rocks. Each eye was the size of a car, glowing with an inner light like purple fire. The creature's throat began to pulse, a warning sign that Mia didn't understand. She could feel the heat even through her suit as energy built inside the dragon's chest. This was it. The moment everyone feared. The plasma breath that had melted battle cruisers. But Mia didn't run. Running made dogs chase you, running made bullies follow you. Her grandmother had taught her that. Instead, she sat down right there on the rock, cross-legged like she did during story time at school. And she started to hum. It was a song her dad used to sing before he left for Mars. Something old, maybe a lullaby, she couldn't remember the words but the melody was soft and gentle. She hummed it when she was scared, and she was very scared right now. The dragon's throat stopped glowing. The energy dissipated like a candle blown out. Its massive head tilted, confused. On the Morning Star, Lisa had reached the maintenance hatch and realized what happened. Through the ship's external cameras, she and Jake watched the impossible scene playing out on their screens. "I'm going after her," Lisa said, already reaching for a suit. Jake grabbed her arm. "Wait. Just wait 1 second. That's my daughter." "I know. But look." On screen, the dragon was lowering itself closer to the ground, its movements careful and deliberate. Not aggressive. Curious. Mia stopped humming and slowly extended her hand, palm up. The universal gesture of peace that humans had used for thousands of years. She had no idea if an alien dragon would understand it, but it felt right. The dragon's snout, each nostril bigger than Mia's entire body, moved closer. It sniffed, a sound like wind through a tunnel. Then, incredibly, it made a sound back. Not a roar or a screech, but a low, rumbling coo. Almost questioning. Mia pointed at the spears in the dragon's side. She made a sad face, even though she wasn't sure if the dragon could read human expressions. She touched her own side and winced, showing pain. The dragon's eyes seemed to soften. It understood. Very slowly, Mia stood up and took a step closer. Then another. The dragon didn't move, didn't threaten. When she was close enough to touch the scales on its leg, she placed her small gloved hand against them. The scales were warm, vibrating slightly with the dragon's breathing. Mia could feel the life in this creature, the exhaustion, the fear. This wasn't a monster from nightmares. This was someone's mother, far from home, trying to protect her babies in a universe that kept trying to kill her. "I'm sorry," Mia whispered, knowing the dragon couldn't hear her through the vacuum of space, but saying it anyway. "I'm sorry they hurt you." The dragon made that rumbling sound again, softer this time. Then it did something that made Lisa gasp on the ship. It shifted its massive body, moving one wing aside to reveal what it had been guarding so carefully. 3 eggs, each one about 6 feet tall, sat in a small crater. They pulsed with soft internal light, cycling through colors, blue, purple, green, like tiny galaxies contained in shells. They were beautiful. The dragon was showing Mia its children. Trusting her. Mia looked at the eggs, then back at the dragon's face. She smiled, a real genuine smile of wonder and joy. "They're beautiful. You're going to be a great mom." She couldn't remove the spears. They were massive, and she was just 8 years old. But she could do something else. She could be a friend when the whole galaxy had been an enemy. Mia sat down next to the dragon's front leg and started humming again. The dragon, the deadliest creature known to the galactic community, lowered its head and listened. For the first time in weeks, it didn't have to be afraid. On the Morning Star, Jake lowered his rifle completely. "I've seen a lot of crazy things in my career," he said quietly. "But this beats everything." Lisa wiped tears from her eyes. "That's my girl. That's my brave, crazy, beautiful girl." The peaceful moment between girl and dragon didn't last long. Space near the asteroid belt suddenly rippled with incoming ships. Dozens of them, emerging from faster-than-light travel with flashes of blue energy. These weren't research vessels or mining ships. These were warships, bristling with weapons, each one larger than a city block. Jake's emergency scanner came back online with a squeal of static. "We've got company." "Big company. That's a Galactic Council attack fleet." Lisa's heart dropped into her stomach. She knew what that meant. The Council had been hunting this dragon for weeks, and now they'd found it. They weren't here to study it or understand it. They were here to eliminate the threat. The lead ship, a massive dreadnought with Captain Vorak's command insignia, moved into position above the asteroid field. Its weapons arrays began to glow, charging with enough power to crack a small moon in half. "Morning Star, this is Council Fleet Command. We detect your distress beacon. Prepare for emergency evacuation. You have 10 minutes to reach minimum safe distance." Jake grabbed the communicator. "Command, this is Commander Palmer. We have a civilian on the asteroid surface. I repeat, we have a child outside the ship. We need more time." There was a pause. Then Vorak's voice came through, colder than the space around them. "Commander, the Omega Protocol has been authorized. We're deploying a quantum collapse bomb. It will implode this entire asteroid belt into a singularity. I'm sorry about your crew member, but we cannot delay. The creature must be destroyed before it reaches populated systems. You have 10 minutes. The communication cut off. Lisa was already suiting up, her hands shaking as she sealed the helmet. 10 minutes. We have 10 minutes to get her back. "I'm coming with you," Jake said, grabbing his own suit. They cycled through the airlock together and started running across the asteroid surface in the low gravity. Each step took them 15 feet forward in long, bounding leaps. In the distance, Mia still sat beside the dragon, completely unaware of the countdown to oblivion ticking away above her. The dragon saw them coming and tensed, protective instincts flaring. But Mia stood up and waved, and the creature relaxed slightly. It recognized that these humans were connected to the small one somehow. "Mia." Lisa's voice crackled over the suit radio. Baby, we need to go. Right now. But Mom, she's hurt. Those spears are infected. I can see the tissue around them is turning dark. She needs help. I know, sweetie, I know. But there's a bomb coming. A big one. We have maybe 8 minutes. Mia looked up at the sky, where the council ships hovered like birds of prey. Then she looked back at the dragon, at those massive eyes watching her. At the 3 eggs glowing softly in their crater. This mother had nowhere to run, no way to move her babies in time, and she was too injured to fight. That's not fair, Mia said, and her voice cracked. She didn't do anything wrong. She's just trying to protect her babies. Lisa reached her daughter and knelt down, putting their helmets together so they could see each other clearly. Life isn't fair, baby. I wish it was. But we can't save her. We can only save ourselves. No. Mia pulled away. No, there has to be something. You're the smartest person I know, Mom. There has to be something we can do. Lisa looked at the dragon, really looked at it with her scientist's eye. The creature was ancient, probably thousands of years old. It had survived things humans couldn't imagine. And now it was going to die because everyone was too afraid to try understanding it. An idea sparked. Crazy, probably impossible, but an idea. Jake, can you boost our communication signal? Patch it directly to the Council Fleet Command channel. Maybe, but it'll drain our emergency power. We won't have enough for the trip back to the ship. Do it anyway. While Jake worked on the communications array, Mia made a decision of her own. She walked back to the dragon and began climbing. The creature's leg was like climbing a warm, scaled hill. She found footholds between the plates, pulling herself up toward the dragon's massive head. Mia, what are you doing? Lisa called. Something Grandma taught me. She said when words don't work, show people how you feel. The dragon watched this tiny creature climb its body and remained perfectly still, understanding somehow that this was important. Mia reached the dragon's head, level with those enormous glowing eyes. Up in the council fleet, Captain Vorak watched his countdown. 6 minutes. His weapons officer reported all systems ready. The Omega bomb was armed and locked on target. This was necessary, he told himself. The creature had killed thousands. It was mercy, really, to end it quickly. Then his communications officer gestured frantically. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the human ship. Video feed. You need to see this. The main screen flickered to life, showing the asteroid surface. Showing a little girl in an oversized spacesuit, perched on the dragon's head. Mia reached up and unlatched her helmet. No. Lisa screamed, starting to run. But Mia was faster. She pulled the helmet off, exposing herself to the thin, barely breathable atmosphere of the asteroid. She had maybe 30 seconds before she'd pass out from lack of oxygen. The dragon's eyes went wide with what could only be described as shock. This small creature was risking its own life. For what? They barely knew each other. Mia placed both her small hands on the dragon's snout, right between its eyes. The scales were surprisingly smooth, warm like sun-baked stone. She could feel the dragon's heartbeat through them, strong and steady. She pressed her forehead against those scales, the way she used to do with her dog before he died. The way she did with her mom when she was sad. A gesture of pure love and trust. Then Mia kissed the dragon, right on its snout, a gentle press of lips against alien scales. The dragon's entire body went rigid. And then something impossible happened. A pulse of energy exploded outward from the creature, not destructive but something else entirely. It washed over the asteroid, over the morning star, and up into the council fleet. Every person in range suddenly felt it. A wave of pure emotion, raw and undeniable. They felt the dragon's loneliness, centuries of traveling through the cold dark of space. They felt its exhaustion from running, from fighting, from being attacked everywhere it went. They felt its desperate love for the 3 unborn children in those eggs, the only family it had left in the entire universe. They felt its confusion and pain at being hunted by beings it had never wanted to harm. And they felt something else. Recognition. The dragon had recognized something in this small human child. Kindness. The first kindness it had been shown since entering this region of space. On the flagship, Captain Vorak's 4 hands went to his head. His weapons officer was crying. Ambassador Thena had fallen to her knees. Across the fleet, hardened warriors stood frozen at their posts, overwhelmed by the emotional resonance. Jake caught Mia as she collapsed from oxygen deprivation, quickly replacing her helmet. She gasped, breathing deeply, but she was smiling. The dragon made a sound, a deep harmonious note that resonated through everyone's bones. Not a roar. A song. Ancient and sad and beautiful. Vorak's hand hovered over the weapon controls. The countdown reached 4 minutes. 3 minutes. He closed his eyes, seeing his own children in his mind. Remembering what it felt like to hold them when they were born, to promise he'd protect them no matter what. His hand moved away from the controls. Stand down, he said quietly. Cancel the Omega Protocol. All ships, power down weapons. Sir? His tactical officer questioned. I said stand down. That's an order. The fleet's weapons dimmed. The countdown stopped at 2 minutes and 47 seconds. On the asteroid, the dragon wrapped one massive wing gently around the 3 humans, sheltering them. Protecting them the way it protected its eggs. The silence that followed was the kind that changes history. Across the Council fleet, alien soldiers who had spent weeks preparing to destroy this creature now stood at their stations, unsure what to do next. They'd felt something that couldn't be unfelt, understood something that couldn't be ignored. Captain Vorak sat heavily in his command chair, his forearms trembling slightly. In 30 years of military service, he'd never countermanded a direct order from the Council. But he'd also never felt what he just experienced. That wasn't the mind of a mindless beast. That was a parent, desperate and afraid. Get me a direct line to Ambassador Thena, he said quietly. Thena appeared on his screen moments later, her crystalline features shimmering with what might have been tears. Her species didn't cry like humans did, but the emotion was unmistakable. You felt it too, she said. It wasn't a question. Everyone did. Every ship, every crew member. What was that? Communication, Thena said softly. Pure, unfiltered emotional communication. My people's ancient texts mention this ability. The astral drakes were telepathic, but not in the way we understand it. They couldn't read thoughts, but they could share feelings across vast distances. It's how they navigated between galaxies. Vorak pulled up the combat footage from the past 3 weeks, watching it with new eyes. Every encounter, every battle, he now saw differently. The dragon had never fired first. Not once. It had been fired upon and defended itself. When it destroyed those outposts, it had been after they launched missiles at it. We've been hunting a refugee, he said, the words bitter in his mouth. A mother looking for a safe place to lay her eggs. On the asteroid surface, Lisa had carried Mia back to the ship, but her daughter refused to stay inside. Within 20 minutes, Mia was back out there, sitting beside the dragon with a medical scanner Lisa had given her. The device wasn't designed for alien biology, but it gave readings on infection and tissue damage. The spears have some kind of poison on them, Lisa explained over the radio to Jake, who'd stayed with them. See how the scales around the wounds are turning gray? That's necrosis. Dead tissue. If we don't remove them soon, the infection will spread. Those spears are 12 feet long and probably weigh 300 pounds each, Jake said. Would need industrial equipment. Then we get industrial equipment. Mia's voice was firm with the certainty only children have when something is obviously the right thing to do. Mom, call those alien ships. They put the spears in, they can take them out. Lisa was about to explain why that wouldn't work when her communicator beeped. It was a direct hail from the Council flagship. Dr. Morgan, this is Captain Vorak. I'd like to request permission to land a medical team on the asteroid. We have personnel trained in emergency field treatment, and we'd like to help with the creature's injuries. Lisa stared at the communicator like it had just grown a second head. I'm sorry, what? An hour ago you were about to blow us all up. An hour ago I was operating under false assumptions. I've reviewed all combat footage. The creature only attacked when fired upon first. We were wrong, Dr. Morgan. Very wrong. And I'd like to make it right. 20 minutes later, 3 Council shuttles landed at a respectful distance from the dragon. The medical team emerged slowly, their movements careful and non-threatening. The dragon watched them with wary eyes, but when Mia walked over to greet them and led them back, it didn't react aggressively. The lead medic was a being that looked like a cross between a mantis and a doctor, with multiple delicate arms ending in precise surgical tools. I've never treated an astral drake before, the medic admitted. But biology is biology. Let's see what we can do. The dragon understood somehow that these beings were trying to help. It remained still as the medical team examined the spear wounds. The mantis medic made clicking sounds that the translator rendered as concern. These weapons were designed to cause maximum pain and prevent healing. Barbaric. We'll need to extract them carefully. This will hurt. Mia climbed back up to the dragon's head and placed her hand on its snout. It's okay. They're going to help you. I promise. The dragon made that low rumbling sound again, almost like a purr, and closed its eyes. Trusting. The extraction took 3 hours. The medical team used molecular cutters to carefully slice through the spear shafts, then employed gravity manipulators to ease the metal from the dragon's flesh. Dark blue blood floated in globules in the low gravity. The dragon trembled but never tried to stop them, never attacked. When the final spear came free, the dragon let out a sound somewhere between a sigh and a song. Relief, pure and simple. The mantis medic applied regenerative foam to the wounds, the kind that worked across most carbon-based life forms. The infection should clear within a few days. Keep the wounds clean, avoid strenuous activity, and for the love of all that's holy, stop getting shot at. Ambassador Athena arrived on the next shuttle, carrying a datapad filled with scans of ancient texts. She approached the dragon slowly, with reverence. I owe you an apology, she said, though she wasn't sure if the dragon could understand her words. My people knew yours, long ago. We called you the gardeners. You traveled between dead star systems and left behind exotic matter that helped new stars form. You were never destroyers. You were creators. She showed the dragon images from her datapad. Pictures of other astral drakes from thousands of years ago, working in concert to seed nebulas with the building blocks of solar systems. The dragon's eyes widened, focusing on the images with intense interest. It made a mournful sound. You're looking for others of your kind, aren't you? Athena asked gently. How long has it been since you've seen another drake? The dragon's response was another emotional pulse, smaller this time, focused just on those nearby. The feeling was devastating. Loneliness that stretched across centuries. Lost deeper than oceans. You're the last one, Lisa whispered, understanding. The last of your entire species. Mia hugged the dragon's snout, her small arms barely spanning a fraction of it. You're not alone anymore. You have us. And you're going to have 3 babies soon. That's not the end. That's a new beginning. Vorak contacted the council directly, transmitting everything they'd learned. The debate that followed was intense and lasted well into the night, but the emotional resonance the dragon had shared made denial impossible. The council members had felt the truth directly. By morning, they'd reached a decision. The star system the dragon had been trying to reach, the Nebula Nursery, would be declared a protected sanctuary. No military vessels, no mining operations, no colonization. The astral drake would have safe passage and a secure place to raise its young. More than that, the council issued a formal apology, broadcast across every known world. They'd nearly committed genocide against the last member of a peaceful species out of fear and misunderstanding. Jake stood beside Lisa, watching the dragon rest while its eggs pulsed with light nearby. Your daughter just rewrote galactic policy by kissing a dragon. That's going to be one hell of a story to tell at parent-teacher conferences. Lisa laughed, tired but genuinely happy. She's grounded for the next year for taking off her helmet in space. But yeah, I'm pretty proud of her too. Mia had fallen asleep against the dragon's side, exhausted from the day's events. The dragon had curled its body protectively around the small human, keeping her warm and safe. The galaxy was learning an important lesson. Sometimes the scariest monsters are just people nobody took the time to understand. Over the next week, the asteroid belt transformed from a battlefield into something resembling a temporary village. Council ships remained at a respectful distance while medical teams made daily visits to check on the dragon's recovery. Engineers from 3 different species worked around the clock repairing the Morning Star, though Lisa suspected they were taking longer than necessary just to stick around and observe the dragon. Mia had become something of a celebrity, though she didn't quite understand why. Reporters from dozens of worlds requested interviews. Children across the galaxy drew pictures of her standing beside the dragon. The human girl who kissed death itself and lived to tell the tale. But Mia didn't care about any of that. She cared about her friend. Every morning, she'd suit up and make the short walk across the asteroid to where the dragon rested. She'd bring food packets from the ship, though the dragon politely refused them. Turns out astral drakes absorbed energy directly from cosmic radiation, which explained how they survived in deep space. She'd bring her tablet loaded with movies and music, playing them while the dragon listened with what seemed like genuine interest. I think she likes jazz, Mia told her mother after the dragon had swayed its head to a Louis Armstrong recording. Or maybe she just likes trumpets. Hard to tell. The dragon's wounds healed remarkably fast with proper treatment. The gray necrotic scales fell away, revealing new growth underneath that shimmered with even brighter colors. Its movements became stronger, more confident. But it never strayed far from its eggs, and it never stopped watching the sky with wary eyes. Ambassador Athena spent hours studying the dragon, not with scanners or probes, but through patient observation and those emotional pulses the creature would sometimes share. She learned that astral drakes had once numbered in the thousands, traveling in groups called shimmers between galaxies. They'd been drawn to areas of cosmic decay, places where stars had died and nothing new could form. They were ecosystem engineers on a galactic scale, Athena explained to the assembled council via hologram, with the dragon visible in the background. They'd consume dead matter and heavy metals, then excrete them in forms that promoted new star formation. Everywhere they went, life eventually followed. And we tried to kill the last one. The dragon had a name, Athena discovered, though it wasn't something that could be spoken with mouths. It was a frequency, a harmonic that resonated at a specific pitch. When played through audio equipment, it sounded like wind chimes mixed with whale song. Beautiful and haunting. Mia couldn't pronounce it, so she shortened it to something she could manage, Stella. Because you shine like a star. The dragon seemed to approve, making that rumbling purr sound whenever Mia used the name. On the 8th day, something changed. The eggs began pulsing faster, their internal light cycling through colors more rapidly. Stella became agitated, circling them protectively and making low crooning sounds. Lisa checked her readings. I think they are hatching. Like, soon. Within an hour, every ship in the vicinity had moved to observation distance. This would be the first time in recorded history anyone had witnessed an astral drake birth. Scientists were practically vibrating with excitement. Mia sat with Stella, holding the dragon's massive claw in both her small hands. You're going to do great, Stella. Being a mom is scary, but you're brave. You're the bravest person I know. The first egg cracked with a sound like breaking glass. A small snout, no bigger than a horse's head, pushed through. Then a tiny dragon emerged, shaking egg fluid from scales that sparkled like opals. It was maybe 6 feet long from nose to tail, small by adult standards but still impressive. Stella made a sound of pure joy, nuzzling her first baby with gentle care. The little drake chirped back, a high-pitched sound that made everyone watching smile. The second egg hatched 10 minutes later, and the third shortly after. 3 healthy babies, each one slightly different in coloring. One was deep purple with silver highlights. Another was blue-green like Earth's oceans. The third was midnight black with stars of white across its scales, like it carried a piece of space itself on its body. They tumbled over each other, learning to use their wings and legs, occasionally falling flat on their faces in that way all babies do regardless of species. Stella watched with patient amusement, occasionally nudging one back toward the group when it wandered too far. Mia laughed with pure delight. They're perfect. Can I pet them? Stella lowered her head, touching Mia's helmet gently, then made a gesture toward her children. Permission granted. The baby drakes were curious about the tiny human, sniffing her with small snouts and trying to nibble her suit with mouths full of surprisingly sharp teeth. Mia giggled as one of them, the starry one, climbed into her lap like an oversized puppy. This one likes you, Lisa observed, recording everything on her tablet. Look, it keeps coming back to you. Jake stood watch nearby, though his weapon was holstered. Kid attracts trouble like a magnet. Now she's got a baby space dragon following her around. The council had prepared a transport fleet to escort Stella and her children to the Nebula Sanctuary. The ships arrived that afternoon, but nobody rushed the new mother. She needed time to bond with her babies, to teach them how to fly in zero gravity, how to find food in the cosmic radiation that permeated space. Over the next few days, Mia helped. She'd throw objects and the baby drakes would chase them, building their flight muscles. She'd play recordings of Stella's harmonic name, and the babies would try to imitate it, creating sounds like squeaky doors until they got it right. She'd sit with them during their rest periods, all 3 drakes piled around her like scaly puppies. The starry one, which Mia had named Nova, refused to leave her side. It followed her everywhere, chirping sadly when she had to return to the ship. I think you've been adopted, Lisa said with a mixture of amusement and concern. By a dragon. Can we keep her? Please, Mom? I'll take care of her, walk her every day, feed her. Mia, she eats radiation and will eventually grow to be the size of a building. So that's a maybe? Lisa laughed despite herself. That's a we'll discuss it later, which is Mom code for probably not. On the day of departure, the entire council fleet formed an honor guard. Stella would fly under her own power now that she was healed, with her 3 children following. The journey to the nebula would take several weeks, even at the speed astral drakes could achieve. Mia stood on the asteroid one last time, helmet in place, saying goodbye. Stella lowered her massive head, touching Mia's helmet with her snout. Another emotional pulse passed between them, gentler than the others. Gratitude, friendship, love. The kind of bond that transcends species. Then Stella did something nobody expected. She opened her mouth slightly and breathed out, not plasma but a soft mist of glowing particles. They settled on Mia's suit, then seemed to sink through the material, absorbing into her skin. Mia gasped as warmth spread through her body. The particles concentrated on her forehead, creating a mark that glowed softly. A gift, though nobody understood what kind yet. What did she do? Jake asked urgently, scanning Mia for contamination. Ambassador Thena's voice came through calm and filled with wonder. It's a kinship mark. In the old texts, astral drakes would mark other beings they considered family. It's the highest honor their species can give. The glow faded after a moment, leaving behind a small mark on Mia's forehead, barely visible but definitely there. It looked like a tiny constellation of stars arranged in a specific pattern. Stella's babies each approached Mia in turn, touching their snouts to her hands. Nova lingered longest, making sad whimpering sounds. I'll visit, Mia promised, her voice thick with tears. Once you're settled, Mom says we can come visit. Right, Mom? Right, Lisa agreed, her own voice not entirely steady. The drakes took flight then, Stella's massive wings catching solar wind as her children followed less gracefully, still learning. The council ships formed up around them, not as guards but as escorts. Protectors. The Morning Star lifted off shortly after, fully repaired and ready for the journey home. As they left the asteroid belt, Mia pressed her face against the window, watching until the dragons were just points of light in the distance. You did something incredible, sweetie, Lisa said, hugging her daughter. You changed the galaxy. I just made a friend, Mia said simply. That's what Grandma would have done. The story spread faster than light itself, carried by traders and travelers to every corner of known space. The human child who showed kindness to the unkillable monster. The girl who kissed the dragon and taught the galaxy that fear and understanding can't exist in the same space. Human governments received thousands of applications from families wanting to join the diplomatic corps. If an 8-year-old could create peace, imagine what humanity could do with actual training and resources. The mark on Mia's forehead never faded entirely. Sometimes, when she was emotional or excited, it would glow softly. Scientists studied it endlessly but couldn't explain it. The best theory was that Stella had somehow shared a piece of her essence, creating a permanent connection between human and Drake. Mia returned to school the next semester to find she was famous. Kids wanted to touch her mark, adults wanted interviews, teachers wanted her to speak at assemblies. She mostly just wanted to do her homework and video chat with Stella, which the council had set up special communications equipment to allow. The Nebula Sanctuary thrived. Stella and her children settled into a large asteroid cluster where the cosmic radiation was perfect for Drake nutrition. The babies grew quickly, and Stella taught them everything she knew. The council stationed a small observation post nearby, staffed by scientists who treated the drakes with reverence and respect. True to her word, Lisa arranged for them to visit 6 months later. The Morning Star made the journey with a small crew, and Mia spent 2 wonderful weeks playing with the young drakes, who now were the size of school buses and could fly with increasing skill. Nova remembered her instantly, knocking her over with enthusiastic affection that nearly broke 3 of Mia's ribs. On Earth, a statue was commissioned. It showed a small girl in a space suit standing beside an enormous dragon, her hand resting on its snout. The plaque read, "To Mia Chen Morgan, who taught us that courage isn't about being unafraid. It's about showing kindness even when you are." Mia hated the statue. She thought it made her look too serious. But she loved what it represented. Years later, when she was asked what she wanted to be when she grew up, Mia didn't hesitate. "A dragon diplomat," she said with a smile, touching the mark on her forehead that still glowed faintly. "Someone's got to make sure they're treated right." And in a nebula far from Earth, 4 astral drakes looked up at the stars and sang their harmonic names into the void. Not the last of their kind anymore. Just a family, finally safe, finally home. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Sometimes the deadliest creatures just need someone brave enough to see past the fear. And humans, especially their children, had that particular talent in abundance.